How do I identify my person? This is one question that is being asked for hundreds of years, and many books and articles have written about it, and many TED Talks have gone and talked about it. And for me personally, I went through in the direction of my certification program on identifying what the purpose is and how to do that. And there is a very simple 3-process step of how you can identify your purpose. And I want to simplify this as much as possible. Why? Because this is a workshop. This is not I'm not giving you a speech and a TED Talk. I'm literally trying to help us. How can I take the information today and really live intentional within my purpose? And this is a 3-step process. Number 1, pinpoint. What do you pinpoint? What is the gift, the skill that requires 0 effort from you? This is very important. I got to be honest, when my wife and I, we were talking about this and I was preparing for this, I started asking myself, what is that one gift or skill that I have that requires 0 effort from me? I was having a hard time to identify what that was. It took me a little bit. Why? Because I started going through and writing ideas of what are the gifts that I have? What am I really good at that I didn't really need much work? It just came naturally. And through some time and through some writing and through some surveying, I was able to identify what comes naturally from me that didn't require much effort. And that is connecting with people. I identified in myself that I can actually, and it's funny because we were flying to Mexico and my wife, she's got to have the window seat. So the window seat, and I'm in the middle because I got to be the one stuck between whatever. But anyways, so there was this, going there, there was this young man, 17 years old, sitting down right next to me. And I'm celebrating 40, right? So 40 and 17. And then we get into this cool conversation. And we're laughing, we're joking, and we connected so well. And when I thought about that, I was like, man, I connected with a 17-year-old and I'm 40. And I love to have conversations with 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds, especially in my career, right? Because I have a lot of those 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds that are executives. We love to connect and to talk and to learn because I can connect with those people as well. And so what I identified immediately in myself, regardless of age, gender, ethnicity, culture, religion, doesn't matter, I have a way of connecting with individuals. Now, I pinpointed that. The first step to finding your purpose, identify what requires 0 effort for that gift or for that skill. Now, let's say you've identified it. What are the steps? The next step is develop. What that means is take small daily steps to develop that gift and that skill. Just because I can connect with people, that doesn't mean I don't need to work on how to connect with people better. Now, what does that mean? What did it require of me? Well, it required of me taking certification programs. It required of me being in seminars. It required of me taking specific exams or tests like the DISC test to identify my strengths and weaknesses. I was a part of a learning program, Learn with a Leader. We took the Myers-Briggs test to identify certain other things about you and about me, right? So taking that time to develop that skill and that gift is important. So to be intentional in my purpose, I need to pinpoint what am I gifted with. Secondly, I need to develop that gift. And third, and most importantly, I need to refine. What does that mean? What that means is tweak the opportunities as you are identifying the weaknesses of your gift. And now, why is that so important? Because it requires you to really mirror and reflect. To be intentional in your purpose, remember, it's not about you. It's about others. It's not about taking, it's about giving. It's not about being the seed that just dies, or it's not dead, just hanging there with zero fruit, but it has to die in order for it to give a tree and to give fruit and to give life. You are designed to give life. And what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, when you identify your purpose, your gift, you're able to live intentionally by providing that service, that value, whatever it is, not just hoarding it to yourself, but actually giving it to others. You become that tree. Now, that may look different for everybody. If you're a housewife and you have children, you're giving life to your children in many different ways. If you're an entrepreneur, well, you're giving a service that's adding value to your clients. If you're a career person, you're adding value to your team and to your company and to your organization. If you're a spiritual person, guess what? You're identifying your gift, you're identifying your calling, and you're adding life in missions or in church settings, in Bible studies, whatever that is, to the people in which God has entrusted to you. And if you're just here and you're saying, you know what, I want to develop myself personally, great. What you're doing is you're developing and you're refining. So to be intentional in your purpose, this is the process. You need to pinpoint, develop, and refine. Why? Because the first step to uncovering your purpose is to understand who you are and what you value most. Do you know what's crazy? Harvard did a study in 2022, and they took 3,000 students from the ages of 18 to 25. And a staggering 75% of them came out in the survey and said, I don't know my calling and I don't have a purpose. Now, why is that important? Simply because you have a generation of people that is coming into the workforce, a generation of people that is entering into life that is not intentional in identifying what value they can bring to life. Your purpose is you got to pinpoint the gift, the skill that requires zero effort from you. Secondly, develop that skill. Seminars, TED Talks, tests, whatever it is. Get you a mentor, get you a coach, somebody like myself. No, I'm just kidding. I just promoted my business, right? Like, that's how you, no. Somebody like Brother Kyle, right? People that are actually invested in adding value. Many of you are in careers that have mentors in your lives. They're great at what they do, and you want to go to them and you ask them. That's developing. And what that does is then you refine. And that's a process in life. You keep on doing that. You pinpoint. You develop, you refine. You pinpoint, you develop, you refine. And that's the intentionality of living every day in identifying your purpose. Is it going to hurt? Yes. Is it going to be awkward? Yes. Does it need to be, there needs to be honesty? Yes. So, what are some reflective questions that you can ask yourself? You don't have to respond to these now, but if you want to write them down, feel free. What energized me today? When you woke up in the morning, what was it that energized you to say, you know what? This is what got me up and going in the morning. That could be that gift. That could be that skill. You know, my brother Anthony here, love him to death. He's really helped me out in many different areas in my photography business, right? And obviously in my spiritual walk. But one of the things that I always talk to him about photography, because that's the business in which he took, and he loved it. He was doing it since he was, 16, 17. But one of the things that I've learned from him is he loves that business is because of the experience in which he provides to the client, and that client is so happy. That to him is the purpose. It's not about, okay, he's making money. Great. He's in business to make money and to provide for his family. But it's more about the value in which he's adding to the client. And because he has done that in such a strategic way, God, the world, life continues to give him. And so if you think about it as an entrepreneur, that's really what it is. If you think about it as a person of adding value and being a man of purpose, a woman of purpose, that's why it's so important to pinpoint that gift, that skill. Develop it and refine it. What energized me? What felt meaningful? Did you ever ask yourself that question? John Maxwell talks about this. Before you go to bed, take a notebook. Have a notebook right by your bedside with a pen. And before you go to sleep, ask yourself this question. What did I do today that felt so meaningful? I promise you, you'll have a hard time answering that question. I dare you to do it. Try it. You know why? Because we're not intentional in our purpose. And when you're not intentional, you don't know what you're doing. You're just going through the day. The other question, what happened that brought unexpected joy in my life today? And the last one I really like. What characteristic did I display that I was not fond of? Have you ever asked yourself that? You know why this question is so important to finding your purpose? Because it's the antithesis of what your purpose needs to be. That's not the person that I want to be. So therefore, this is the characteristic that I want. And so, these are some reflective questions in order for you to identify your purpose. And so, how do I define my purpose? This is it. Pinpoint the gift. Develop that gift. Refine that gift. Why? Because you are meant to live intentionally, to give, not to take. And your purpose will help you do that. All right. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we will start our next session.